Now on to the top story, reaction. Joining us from Chicago, Ahmed Rehab, who's the head of the Chicago chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Now, Ahmed, I'm sure you have a lot to say after that talking points memo, but here's my first question to you. Now that we've learned more about what this imam has said about the United States, specifically the point that America is an accomplice, indeed an accessory to the murder of 2,700 of her own citizens, do you think that is moderation?
Well, the way you frame the question is very disingenuous, just as the way that you try to identify this man based on one political position that is unpopular is also very disingenuous. Just like any other American, he has every right to hold a position that is unpopular politically. It does not make him
you have every right, Ahmed, to say anything you want. And before you call me disingenuous, was there something in that soundbite that we just played? Was that an inaccurate portrayal of his view 2 weeks after September 11? 2 weeks.
I can bring to your show 2,000 hours of what you would call very moderate language from this man and then ask you the question, does this sound moderate? You can't play 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 30 seconds and then ask the question, does it sound moderate? Well, that portion of what he just said may not, but then many other things. It does not headline who he is. What headlines who he is the 30-plus years of moderate behavior, not just words, that he has essentially led the Muslim community in terms of interfaith work, in terms of intercultural work. Right now, he's in the Middle East speaking to Muslims in Muslim-majority countries, talking about America and American values, doing the bidding for America in the Middle East in terms of its image, in order to better understanding of the Middle Eastern populations of America and Americanism. So again, it's unfair for you to look at this one soundbite and attempt to define Imam Rauf.
Would you give other people the benefit of the doubt on a similar situation where someone was accused of being an accessory to the murder of her own citizens? And I'm not saying, look, Daisy Khan, I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. You saw my interview or heard about my interview. I was excited to hear about her efforts, and that's great. We tried to get her on the Factor tonight. She wouldn't come. But he's in Malaysia, then he's in Bahrain doing this work. But don't you think if you're a bridge builder and you're going to be an important force, you should probably come back to the United States and answer some of these growing concerns? It's not incumbent upon us to prove our good motives here.
Yeah. He should and he will. But to answer your question, yes, I would give somebody the benefit of the doubt. What I look at is a track record. I don't look at sound bites. I look at a track record. But the problem, the people that we oppose, the bigots, the people that we call Islamophobes, they don't have 1 or 2 or 3 sentences. They have essentially a lifetime, a career of Islamophobic behavior, not just words,
who are you talking
but
about
actions.
specifically?
Well, I'm talking about specifically Pamela Geller, specifically Robert Spencer, the 2 founders of the Stop the Islamization of America Orwellian organization that was just started and that is spearheading to a large degree the opposition to Park 51.
Do you agree with the imam's comment that the U.S. is the most Sharia-compliant nation in the world?
Again, you have to understand what he means by that. The way he defines Sharia are laws that are essentially pro-human, pro-life, pro-construction, not the way that you or others may define it as this, anti-American, anti-democracy, anti-freedom sort of thing. When he defines it that way, he looks at America and says, yes, America is pro-freedom, pro-democracy, pro-human rights, therefore it is Sharia compliant.
What do you think about Rashid Raza's point that she made on The Factor, also on my radio show, about how building the mosque within such a close proximity to Ground Zero is in itself, in Muslim understanding, a deliberate provocation or a marker of sorts? That's another concern raised not by me, but by Muslims who are now saying, look, we think there should be an Islamic center, but this is obviously not building more trust, it's building more distrust, so let's move it.
That may be a perception of some, but if the talking point is that it's the intention of Imam Rauf, then I would say that it is very incorrect, and it's illogical. Why would a man who has spent his entire life building bridges suddenly come out and want to provoke? It just doesn't make sense. The reason why, I think, most of the opposition, at first it was questioning the right of Muslims to build a center there. After the question of rights was resolved, it was insensitivity.
Why won't
But
he
even
answer
that's not very
questions about the
accurate.
funding, though? I mean, they won't answer questions about the funding. Will they say they won't take money from Iran, and the project's founders will not say they won't take money from Iran? You don't think that's a reason for people to say, gosh, this could be terrorist money fueling the building of this mosque? That's
Laura,
a concern easily batted away.
Honestly, with all due respect, the sense I get from your coverage is that you're all over the place. One time he's a radical, one time he's insensitive, one time it's the funding. I mean, which is it? You know, as far as the funding, like
they're
any other
legitimate
institution in
questions
America,
all across the board.
well,
That's why. There's so many questions,
right.
it's hard to deal with in a 5-minute segment. That's why. He's
but
not
you can't
answering
find- you can't
questions.
find-
He's hiding behind his wife.
and you can't find any legitimate questions or answers to express why this center is
Funding
good for
and
America. You
accessory
can
to
only find
murder.
the
Those are just 2
opposition.
points. Okay, well, you know, this disingenuous host
The
has to answer.
funding thing.
And
The funding thing
is critical. It's critical.
Right, but let me answer the question. Our government has ways and is responsible to ensure that anything funded in this country is legal. He will abide by these laws. And
That's
these
your
rules,
bar?
You know, and,
That's the
well,
bar
I
you're
mean-
setting? I think they should be able to say, no, of course we're not going to take money from terrorist organizations because
of
we're
course
building
they're
bridges.
not.
That's easy to say.
Okay.
Then say it. They
if
didn't
that's
say
not
it.
obvious to you, Laura, let me say
They
very
won't
clearly,
say.
of course they're
It's
not
the
going to
project
take money from
founders. They
terrorist
won't say it,
organizations.
Mr. Rehab. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.